Over the last 20 years, I've sharpened a lot of axes. I think I've tried about every method there is out there. I have found a way that anybody can sharpen the worstly abused axe in just a matter of minutes. But first off, we're going to need a dull axe. And the best way to dull an axe is to try to chop a file in half. So before we perform the unthinkable on this fine little Fiskars hand hatchet, let's take a look at the current edge right there. Now this is fresh off the last test. We went up against the Grand Force Brooks on, who has the better hand axe. So we have a slight damage on there from the anvil drop, but overall pretty good. This was hair shaving sharp before we started, and it still is from this point on down. So what we have here is we've got a file that's seen better days right here, and we're going to use this in combination with the railroad rail. I have a bad tendency to call these railroad ties. Of course, I know the difference, but when the camera turns on, your mind goes all wobbly. We are going to put the hurt on this poor little axe. I must confess that I do not enjoy taking the edges off of any tool, especially after all the years of trying to put them on there. Even if it is a Fiskars axe, which hasn't really done anyone any harm, has it? Apart from my sister, but well, that's another story. All right, so here we go. We're going to do it. Boy, that's a tough axe, and you can chop a file in half. It goes to prove how hard files are. All right, let's continue. Let's make it bad. Let's hit the corner. What could be worse than that? Oh, it's painful. Oh, look at that. Oh, could we do any more harm than that? That's pretty bad. How about one more? A big one. Let's take a close-up look. Man, that is hard to take, isn't it? So you can see right there, we've got some pretty heavy-duty damage right there. We've got we've got chips, we've got gouges, we've got rolled edges. I mean, that's bad. I hear from subscribers who have bought fine axes, Swedish axes and such, and they'll maybe be chopping something and overstrike or hit a rock or hit a nail, put a tiny chip in there. You send me pictures on my Facebook page all the time, and like, oh, what do I do? This is not the end of the world. This is easily fixed. You want to know how? All right, I'll show you the tools you're going to need. The wisest man in the world, King Solomon, wrote, "There's nothing new under the sun." Everything that is done has been done before, and that's kind of what's going to happen today. You guys have seen it before. But I want to talk a little bit about this. I don't want to demonstrate, because I haven't done it, of how quickly we can repair damaged edges on tools, not just axes, but mattocks, anything with this tool. It's just amazing. This is a roll-lock tool. We've talked about it before. I've got these in my Amazon store. It's at wranglermart.com. It's $60 with the free tip on it. And the best deal, though, on Amazon, if you have one of these, if you've been to the hardware store, Napa or whatever, and bought these, they'll sell them in like 3-packs or 6-packs, and they are expensive. These are the little abrasive discs that go on the end, and they're good for everything. And these are the ones I prefer, the Scotch Brite, because they're very gentle. They don't heat up the metal. They don't scar it too much. The coarse is the brown, and then of course you go to the red, and then you go to the green. It's a 1-2-3 combination that's really good. And there's a really good deal on there. I'll put that link in the subject heading as well, where they have a 3-pack of these, and you get a whole bunch of them. They're like multiple year supply for like $21. So that's why I'm sharing it, because it's such a great deal. Let's check this up, and I'm going to show you how quickly we can repair this damaged axe. The only downside to this tool is, of course, you have to have a compressor, but you don't need a huge compressor. Plus, the good side is you can tell your wife that Wranglerstar told her, or wanted me to tell you to tell her, did I say that right? That you need to get a compressor. All right, you ready? All right, so here's our damaged axe heads. We're going to start with the, whoops, I got the wrong color on there. That's the medium one. Let's start with the brown. The brown is the coarse. I think those are kind of universal. And just freehand seems to be good. It's just a nice sitting on a stool here. Get you where you can see there and where you're comfortable. We'll get this angle, but watch this. All right, we're going to flip over to the other side. Can you see there? Kind of keep track of how much time you spend on each side. Now if you feel this, you can feel it. There's no heat really. I mean, we always don't take the temper out of it. We keep it to the temperature where we can touch. But right there in that short amount of time, we have everything but just of the deepest one. So we're flipping over to the other side one more time. Here is our roll lock machine finished edge. I would say that is a completely serviceable edge. Is it hair popping sharp? It is not, but it would be effective. And look how how long did it take us to repair the damage on that head? I could back that up a little bit there. Did that very quickly. You know, of course, you could spend another minute or two and really refine it, but it doesn't take but just a little bit of practice. But just think of the possibilities of what you can sharpen and do with that tool, even things that are severely damaged. It's pretty amazing. Now, if we really want to get this back into its proper fighting trim, if we want to have an axe that is hair splitting, paper splitting sharp, you're not going to get that from a machine. That's only going to come by hand. And I'll show you my preferred method for that. I'm going to share with you my story of two stones. Very first axe stone that I ever purchased was this little Lansky Stone. This is not the original one. I have two of them. This is a newer one. And this is a great deal. Great deal. I like this stone because the way it was designed, it's really great and small. It's portable. You can put it in a pack. You can carry it in your pocket. And the way that the edges are chamfered on it is very nice as well. It's less likely to get damaged, those corners getting knocked off. You've got a coarse here and a fine. And man, it just does so much. I think I've sold hundreds of these things to my subscribers over the years. One complaint I had about it was it's a bit small. It is a little bit small, especially if you're getting into big axes. Not such a big deal for the small ones like this, but that has been my main concern on that. So I guess it had been maybe 10 years ago, when I got my first timber framing slick, it needed to be reprofiled. I think I've told you the story. I bought it from my old neighbor, Henry. I saw it out in his shop and didn't have a handle, and it was chipped and in bad shape. I knew what it was. It's probably one of the finest timber framing slicks that you can purchase from the White Company. Laminated steel, handmade. Him and his brother had used it to chuck into a tree as like a throwing knife. And unfortunately, I got it from him, but it was in such bad shape it needed to be reprofiled, and I didn't want it hollow ground. It had to have a special grind on it. Searched high and low, found a company in Portland that could actually do it for me, and I gave them very specific instructions, and they did a perfect job. So when I went in there and picked it up, and I was asking kind of, you know, I'm always interested in shops, and they gave me kind of a little tour and showed me how they did it. Well, there was a guy that was back there sharpening chisels and such, and he had a stack of these stones, just like this one here. This is the red India stone, which is my favorite, with a course on the bottom. It's like the Lansky. However, it's much bigger. You can see it's probably twice the size, and it's a lot easier to use. Well, I looked at those and I asked him about it, and he gave me one. And I thought, well, that was real. It was great. I was sharpening on it. I really loved it. Had our first open house, and one of my subscribers came out here, and he was asking about it, and I gave it to him, thinking, well, I'll just get another one. Well, lo and behold, I couldn't find another one for a long time, for years. I finally found this one, and I believe it was made by the Norton Company, and I've not been able to find another one since. I've wanted to have this available and make it available to people and recommend it. I can't find it. I got it on Amazon. I don't know if it just went away, but I'm so worried about this one that I keep it in a glove. I just don't want anything to happen to it, but it is my favorite. So we'll use the red India stone, and I'll show you how we can quickly put a shaving sharp edge on this little Fisker's axe. There just is no substitute for a hand-lapped edge, or nothing I've ever found. So you want on your stone, you want to put a little bit of solvent of some sort. Diesel, kerosene, a little drop of Hopi's number 9. It doesn't make any difference, whatever you have. And that's going to carry the chips away. And this is intimidating to a lot of people. It was to me for a long time, but the thing how to explain it to you is you get a little feel for it. It doesn't take very long. But what you're looking is you want to push those little waves of liquid. You know, go back down. It's not going to do any harm to polish this way, and start leaning it forward until you can feel that edge. You're like trying to take the skinniest, thinnest slices of the stone off. And you're contouring that, and you're tilting, you're adjusting that angle. As you go too far, you'll feel a little bit of resistance. You'll feel that it's cutting into the stone, and back it off a little bit. And go forward, and then back it off. And forward, and try to just push those little waves of cutting fluid. Flip it over. And backing it off, tipping it up, and just feeling that. You can do this on your Lansky Stone as well. Just make smaller circles. Now I'll flip it over one more time, and this will be a much shorter duration. And then back to the last side. Then, of course, finish up on a leather strop. This is just a piece of rawhide leather, a little bit of jeweler's rouge on it, with some spray adhesive on a piece of pine. I press on this as hard as I can, and I go about 25 times each direction. Let's take a look at the edge here before we do our sharpness test. You can see right there. Now, my only criticism of my work right here is I'm a little bit flat. If I were to take a little more time, I'd put a little bit more of a curve in that, but that's okay. This is a demonstration here. All right, is it sharp? Is it sharp? Let's see. Here's a piece of butcher paper. Okay, obviously it's sharp. We can cut through there no problem. Let's take it to the next level. Let's see if we can split paper. If you can split paper with a Fisker's axe, you've got a sharp tool. So I've been wondering, is it possible to chop a lead pellet in half on the first try? Second try. So there you have it. A very simple and effective way to sharpen any axe or hatchet, regardless of damage. It's pretty good when you can chop a lead pellet in half. All right, we'll see you guys on the next video. It's hard to believe it's snowing again. We have literally have blizzard conditions today. Another 4 inches on the ground last night. You know, Mrs. W and I, we ordered, we're going to do another great tree planting on the homestead. We ordered, I don't know what she ended up with, between 400 and 500 trees, 4 or 5 different species, giant sequoias and western red cedars, and of course Douglas firs. You know, a couple of years ago we planted almost 1,000 trees, and we lost 90% of them because we went into drought that summer. And that was really kind of a shame. So we're not going to give up so easily. So we're going to be planting again. And having those. And I asked her today, I said, what do you think? Do you think we're going to be planting trees in the snow? I don't know. What's going to happen. So what else is going on in the homestead? Well, it's just, we're still, the family's still just not getting over this respiratory infection. And Mrs. W is concerned. She hasn't been able to run for 2 weeks. And, you know, we're going to Boston. She qualified for the Boston Marathon. And And that's not good for her. She's kind of losing some of the ground, the momentum that she worked so hard to gain. So please keep our family in your prayers. It means a lot to us, and we always appreciate that. You ask what you can do for us. Keep us in your prayers. What else you can do for us is support us by purchasing tools and products from our store, Wranglermart.com. It doesn't cost you anything if you're going to buy it anywhere on Amazon. It's our affiliate link store, and we make a small percentage off of that. It helps to pay for content, helps to keep the channel up and going, so we're grateful for that. So you can go to Wranglermart.com, and if you have a compressor and you don't have one of these little roll-lock tools, boy, you need to get one, because they're just the handier, as my granddad used to say, as handy as a shirt pocket. And that's the truth. All right, well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next video.